toward timeless living, embracing the power of presence. Even if I fully accept that ultimately time is an illusion, what difference will it make in my life? I still have to live in a world that is completely dominated by time. Intellectual acceptance is simply another belief and won't change much. To realize this truth, you have to live it. When every cell of your body is so present that you feel it vibrating with life, and when you can feel the joy of being in every moment of life, then you can say that you are free from time. But I still have to pay the bills tomorrow, and I will grow old and die like everyone else. How can I say I am free from time? The bills of tomorrow are not the problem. The dissolution of the physical body is not a problem. The problem is the loss of the now, or rather, the central deception that turns a mere situation, event, or emotion into a personal problem and suffering. The loss of the now is the loss of being. Being free from time is being free from the psychological need of the past for your identity and the future for your realization. It represents the deepest transformation of consciousness you can imagine. In some rare cases, this shift in consciousness happens dramatically and radically all at once. Generally, it comes through total surrender in the midst of intense suffering. Most people, however, have to work at it. When you have the first glimpses of the timeless state of consciousness, you start to move back and forth between the dimensions of time and presence. You become aware of how rarely your attention is actually in the now. But knowing that you are not present is a great success. This awareness is presence. Even if it initially only lasts for a couple of seconds of clock time and is lost again with increasing frequency, you choose to have the attention of your awareness in the present more than in the past or future. And each time you realize you had lost the now, you can stay in it, not just for a couple of seconds, but for longer periods, as perceived from the external perspective of clock time. So before being firmly established in the state of presence, you fluctuate for a while between awareness and unconsciousness, between the state of presence and identification with the mind. You lose the now and come back to it again and again. Eventually, presence becomes your predominant state. For most people, presence is never experienced, or only accidentally and briefly on rare occasions, without being recognized for what it is. Most human beings alternate not between consciousness and unconsciousness, but only between different levels of unconsciousness, ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What do I mean by different levels of unconsciousness? As you probably know, while you sleep, you constantly move between dreamless sleep and the dreaming state. Similarly, in the waking state, most people only alternate between ordinary unconsciousness and deep unconsciousness. What I call ordinary unconsciousness means being identified with your thought processes and actions, your reactions, desires, and aversions. It's the normal state of most people. In this state, you are governed by the egoic mind and are unconscious of being. It's a state not of acute pain or unhappiness, but of a low level of continuous discomfort, discontent, boredom, or nervousness, a kind of background static. You may not be aware of this because it is a frequent part of normal life, just as you may not be aware of a continuous background noise like the hum of an air conditioner until it suddenly stops. When it suddenly stops, there is a sense of relief. Many people use alcohol, drugs, sex, food, work, TV, or shopping as anesthetics in an unconscious attempt to suppress the basic discomfort. When this happens, an activity that could be very enjoyable if used in moderation becomes a compulsive or addictive activity, and all that is achieved through it is brief relief from symptoms. The discomfort of ordinary unconsciousness turns into the pain of deep unconsciousness, a state of suffering or unhappiness that is more acute and more obvious when things go wrong, when the ego is threatened, or when there is a real or imagined major challenge, threat, or loss in your life situation, or when there is conflict in a relationship. It's an intensified version of ordinary unconsciousness, different from it, not in kind, but in degree. If you can't be present even in normal circumstances, such as when you are sitting alone in a room, walking in the forest, or listening to someone, then you certainly won't be able to remain conscious when something goes wrong, or when you are confronted with people or situations that are difficult or challenging, with loss or the threat of loss. You will be dominated by a reaction that is ultimately always a form of fear and dragged into deep unconsciousness. These challenges are your tests. Only how you deal with them will show you and others at what stage you are in your state of consciousness, not the time you can sit with your eyes closed or the visions you have. When you learn to be a witness of your thoughts and emotions, which is an essential part of being present, you may be surprised when you first realize the background static of ordinary unconsciousness you have and how rarely, if ever, you are truly at ease with yourself. On the level of your thinking, you will find much resistance in the form of judgment, discontent, and mental projection away from the now. On the emotional level, there will be an underground current of discomfort, tension, boredom, or nervousness. All are aspects of the mind in its habitual mode of resistance to the present.